on packets on packets on packets on packets. I got packets on 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 packets. I got packets on 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 packets. I got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on.
Put in the F around and you find out.
What's up, folks? This is Travis. I'm here with my friends Gray Hat Guy and Bortle, and we are going to talk about the internet of this today. If you got this link somehow, you probably know about as much as I do going into this. So we don't really have any particular agenda, I guess. But hey, what's up, guys?
Yo.
Yep. No fixed time, really. No fixed agenda. Just kind of, yeah, whenever.
That cracked me up. The punk rock statement you said. Yeah.
That is. It's punk rock. That's like, that's like art almost. Come
You
on.
don't have a time and agenda. You don't tell people that this is happening. That's so. Yeah, we have had some pretty good discussions, on this show as we've kind of gotten it up and going and getting our audio working. But if there's something you want to hear about, if there's something you want to come on and talk about, I mean, just hit one of us up and we can get something figured out. We've got a pretty broad, I guess, general topic, the internet of this. So it can go in a lot of directions. So what's new this week, gentlemen?
Yo, batteries.
Batteries. Nice. Okay. I'm looking forward to this. And we kind of touched on this last week, with some of the testing equipment. And I know you got some new technology batteries in, pricey ones that you've kind of been testing out over there, right?
Yeah. I got the Tatarin TLI batteries. I haven't even gotten to test them yet.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
Nice.
these are a AA form factor. They're just lithium ion batteries, but they're a bobbin style, and the way that they make them, they can handle super low temps. So negative 55 Celsius to 90 Celsius, these will charge and discharge. Yeah. So I'm working on that. The thing
and that's
about
a big
them,
difference than their old batteries, because I've used that brand before, but they were not rechargeable. They were just they were good. They lasted a long time in storage. I know that was a big selling point.
The chemistry didn't change. It's just the way that they pack the battery. You're saying like that gets a temperature advantage. It's just packing.
Yeah, almost positive that it's just like this bobbin style packing, and there might be an inactive piece of the chemistry that allows for those super low temps, but it's just a lithium ion battery.
Like some sort of inhibitor, like antifreeze.
Yeah.
We'll pour a little antifreeze in it. Yeah.
Did you have an issue with shipping? I mean, do they still have to mark those as lithium ion, like no airmail and stuff? Okay.
Yep, they got to come ground. They're unprotected batteries, so like they will not ship them any other way but ground. So it takes a little while of time to get them. It wasn't bad. It was like 4 or 5 days. But the biggest thing about using them is that they don't charge like any other battery, really.
Okay.
So you have when you charge these batteries, you can't give them more than 120 milliamps of current, which is pretty low. Especially in today's standards. Even though they give out 5 amps, they'll discharge 5 amps. So they have a really high discharge, but they charge weird. So you have to only provide 4.1 volts of electricity at 120 milliamps, and the float has to be 4.1 volts, not 4.2. 4.2 will damage the battery, like they were clear.
And a lot of lithium ions, they need the constant current and then constant voltage crossover, where I do one way, then I do the other to complete the cycle.
Yeah, they want to do the cycling of the charge cycling of the battery. So You know, that's the other thing. Like, not just like what the 100 milliamp limit, but then pulsing. How are you going to pulse? You know, and how are you going to get there? You know, how are you going to step up there? Has a lot to do. Has a lot to do with those batteries' capacity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just got these.
Okay, yeah.
So it has voltage and current on these potentiometers right here. Yeah.
And
So
make sure that
I'm
you
gonna
tune those
give
if
these a
you
try.
use one of those boards. Make sure that you tune that in before you plug it into anything because
it's
okay.
Zero set at 200 milliamps.
These were only $10 too on Amazon, which was pretty cool, and they're fitting.
Cheap. Yeah.
This is actually a constant current, constant voltage, but it's adjustable with the potentiometers, which is
the
cool.
potentiometer adjust is nice. You can get a little digital display.
This only get me as far as charging though, because then once I discharge, I kind of want to have a battery protection circuit too. So I'd have to have like another piece of like battery protection here. Yeah,
because you still don't want to run those down too low, or they won't come back up.
No, they won't come back. Yeah. And they're 20-year batteries, and they cost $32 each. So you don't want to damage them. You really want to get
But you're supposed to be able to leave those in a charged state on the shelf with very little deterioration of that charge for a while, right?
Yeah, no leakage.
I
it's
don't
on
know
the
if they say
spec sheet,
85%. I mean, I'm assuming they don't want them fully charged on the shelf. I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually one thing that, a lot of the time, like you will see like the battery manufacturer suggest charging it to like 85%. I didn't see any of that. Like they were like 4.1 volts max.
Yeah,
like that's it. Like put it there.
Here's our curve. Here's the boundaries. Here's the breakdown voltages.
and a lot of batteries that have built-in like BMSs, like DJI batteries, they will, if I leave something charged on the shelf, it will go ahead and step itself down after a couple of weeks, I think, to like 80-85%. Don't quote me on that, but it steps it down to something for storage. Storage mode, I believe is what they call it. So
there is a storage mode.
We were talking about that Odie. A little bit last week, and I got the battery toolbox for the Odie that allows you to, take the data sheet from a battery that you want to test, and I can, tap in some of those numbers on the charge, the discharge, like what type of cycling I want to do, and then what it will do, it will run those calculations through, and it will discharge the battery. And that's why these things have fins all over it, because it radiates, it burns it into heat, and discharges the battery. And then the unit itself can emulate that battery. So I can plug it in and just say, okay, I select the battery that it's learned and say, I want you to apply this to a firmware that I'm working on. And I want to see what my sleep states look like, on the discharge on that battery, which is kind of cool. So
that's dope.
But I haven't played with that. I want to get one of these Odies over to you so you can you can run some discharge tests and some profiling.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
On these.
That'd be kind of cool. Like just looking at like charging tests with the Odie, but then looking at discharge tests to see, how could you maximize your output discharge? You know what I mean?
Man.
At least it's a tool that could get you there. You know what I mean?
I keep thinking about a plug-in for like VS Code where I could just have a tiny thing next to my line number that tells me what type of burn or current consumption.
Yes, your cost.
Gonna cost.
Yep.
That's pretty dope, man.
That'd be pretty cool.
And it's valuable information. Like to have that be like, okay, I have this battery profile. Now you're banging out 3 or 4 different firmwares, and every step of the way, what it's costing you in power to
all my
run
developers
whatever.
Know. They don't really have to do it. Once I have that profile in place, they just have to have one of these little units and hooked up to their dev station, and they could see exactly what a change in code is going to cost them in a particular sleep cycle or a sleep cycle.
You could
And
program a battery for all like your test beds. So like if you tested a bunch of this stuff in production or something like that, and you wanted to just use this is our battery that we use. Here's our battery profile. It's always this one.
or we're looking at changing for this particular region because it's cold as hell there, and we need to
Yeah,
use the
yeah,
right
yeah, yeah.
chemistry.
Whatever you would want to do, in the development testing. But then, like, even if you were like just doing some sort of standardized testing, like screening or something in production,
Yeah,
you could
and it
you
supports coin cells. If I
change
want to
whatever
do like,
battery you needed. Yeah,
I think on the coin cells, it has a minimum of 1 month time to discharge to get a profile out of it. But with the battery toolbox, the company Quitec, don't quote me on Quitec. Yeah. Anyway, they make the Odie, and you can now, they have changed their policy. So all of the Pro Tools now, well, pro level tools are now free or included,
yeah,
in the purchase price of the device. So you don't have to pay monthlies on that. And you can, so I'm like, okay, so I'll pay monthly for the battery toolbox. And you can do an outright purchase of it. So if I just want to say, okay, I want this forever, I can do that. Significantly more, but at a discounted rate. But or I could do it annually or monthly. So if I just want to pay, I need a month of doing something. I need to do some quick tests on battery profiling. They support that now, and
well,
so
now you can tell. I mean, you can tell like if the device is defective, if it's like all of a sudden pulling too much battery. It's like you could actually say like, I have a bad device. Use it as a screen that way because like you know what your battery burns and what's burning in the device. And
yeah,
you
and
go
it
from
also
there.
gives you like full real time graphs of that, and so I can
Yeah,
see it
because
running. I can see whenever a radio fires up. I can see
yep,
my change there. I can put. What I love about these things is I can have my output from my firmware just like a serial. I'm just right into a
yeah,
serial, and then I connect those ports over to the ODI, and it actually puts those messages in line
yeah,
with the
tags,
graph, and
benchmarks.
so
Yep,
I'm like, hey,
yep,
I'm firing up this LoRa radio right now, and then boom, I can see the spike, the change in power consumption. It's a
yep.
really powerful tool that I can have all my developers. I mean, the cost to have one of these on a developer's desk is pretty low. And while we're talking about this, I also want to say I'm a huge fan of the Nordics, of the Power Profiler 2s. They're great little pieces of kit. If you're looking for a low cost, entry into doing power consumption monitoring, that's definitely something I'd look at as well. So, and they have cool, flashy LEDs on them. So,
Yeah, you need flashy LEDs.
yeah. Speaking of
Oh yeah,
just,
I did order I did place an order for the Bus Pirate 5.
cool.
So
Oh shit!
it's on route. I think I can't remember. It was some weird place in China that was distributing or something. Because it was
Well, you got
I
it
saw
through
it was a
Dirty PCB, right? That's
yeah, Dirty. I got it from Dirty PCB.
okay.
Yeah, directly. But they distributed someplace weird. I couldn't remember where it was, but it wasn't U.S. I don't think.
I wish I had something to say there, but when I bought mine, it was right before Chinese New Year. I mean, when a lot of Chinese companies were on break for a little
Yeah.
bit there, and so I don't really know what the true shipping was. I did notice I've been carrying it in my pocket for some dumb reason, and the writing is scraping off on it. So just your V out is at the top, and then it just counts down your lines.
Yeah, you'll it won't take you long to memorize that one.
Right, right. And I do want to get something that fits this bottom port there for my breakouts.
It looks like a quick connect or
I
QUIIC. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure what that is, but the enclosure on this, it is plastic injection molded, and it's a pretty good little case that they come with. So. And I've been having fun with it. I think last week I kind of showed off how I have a terminal program on my phone, and I put a bunch of macros in there so I could, hit mode and then hit 5, and that puts me into I squared C mode, and then I can say, okay, I want 3v3 out at this milliamps, turn it on, and then I've got this regulated power supply you know.
Yeah. Set it
the
up with a
background part.
macro to I2C scan
Yeah.
the RS 485 bus.
If I want to bit bang something, if I want to, you know, if I
Yeah.
mean, you have a lot of go-to macros.
Find all I2Cs on this mod bus.
And that's something we've talked about before about being able to
That's
use
not good.
some.
I could see how you could make that thing work that way, you know?
And
Yeah.
because I'm just connecting to this via a terminal over the USB-C, I could run this from a flipper if I wanted to. I mean, I think I could just run a terminal program on that little guy.
Just like the flipper interface on the phone. Yeah, the app
It's
works really well.
I don't know. I've toyed around with the flipper. I haven't really done. I mean, I built a board and put a micro, SD on there and a radio, and I've kind of messed around a little bit with the E5s on it, but I haven't actually really used it for anything. I did use one of the NFC features on it a while back, and it seemed to work well. So.
Yeah, the NFC, it scans the bank card for the next knots. You'll find a new knots for every card, you know.
That's cool.
It picks up a little bit more information on the passports. There's like a different chip in there, and it does know most of that chip. So it's NFC. It's NFC actually does work pretty well for as far as those types of things are concerned.
Cool.
But yeah, I've played with the IR flasher, built a custom one for it, and a lot of the stuff that I'll do is a lot with like the sub G frequencies.
Yeah.
So an FSK emulation of something, to just look at the datagram or record the datagram. Garage door opener. Something that might not hop frequencies, but then even if it does, the frequency hopping detection stuff is pretty on point. So
Okay.
like if you need to figure out, something that is hopping, the parametrics behind it, you just sit there and you sample and you listen. It does almost like an FFT to say, oh, it looks like you're FSK and you're hopping at a 30 megahertz, hop and this and that, type of just other types of stuff.
And some of what you're talking about is third party, right? Or this is a different firmware?
These are pretty much third party. I think that they have it factory. Some of the stuff they have, like a lot of the tools, just the FFT tools are pretty good for just running into a dark environment and trying to see what signals are in the area. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a factory one. I'm not sure about the other one that they have with respect to, but there is a datagram packet that's like off the shelf.
I will say, if you're taking the things apart, be careful because they pack the stuff in there. I mean, if you take the enclosure off, it's tits to toes, like just jam packed, layered up in there. So.
It's not the easiest thing to
be careful around the IR and I think the little pins on the bottom, the pogos on the bottom, like that area. I think I busted that off mine pretty much day one and had to solder that back in. Because my monkey hands, they're good at breaking things, man.
I've done the Sentry. The Sentry safe has this hack for it. The digital Sentry safes.
Right.
You pull off the faceplate, and there's like 3 or 4 wires, and you only really have to connect up to, I think, like the green wire, and it's right through the GPIO interface. And all it does is it goes through any 6-digit combination from 0 to whatever.
And I've heard it works. I mean,
yeah, it works.
Okay.
It'll find, and then it'll program in a backdoor message for it too. So like, if you want the password to be 1, 2, 3, 4, after it goes through and finds the last password, it'll add that password in as well too. It's kind of like a backdoor one.
Okay.
But I kind of had to try that out. And
I wanted to so
like
badly.
less than 30 seconds to cycle through. It was
Wow.
like, I don't know how long. It was less than a minute, but yeah.
There was one at an Airbnb that I had, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to, but I really do want to do this. But you have to like pull the outside face plate or something off. I mean, there is some type of non-destructive.
No, it's just,
I guess,
yeah, you quarter turn twist because that's where the batteries
okay.
are behind the
Okay.
keypad. And then there's 4 wires there. Like, you don't need the power wires, and I think it's just down to like a serial connection. So you only need like one of the green wires, and then maybe a clock. So it might be SPI, it might be I squared C, but it's just sending the numbers straight, straight to it.
I restrained myself. I didn't. It wasn't my safe, and so I didn't. I'm like, okay, I didn't mess with it. But I've heard that it does work very effectively.
You got to get the little wire clips with the little pin that like punctures the insulation, so then you could just work that way.
I got some new one of those a while back that are a little more industrial than I usually use, but I've got. Oh, and this is a cool little like fold out, kit for all sorts of little, I don't know, connectors. But I got these off of Amazon, and these are what you're referring to, like punching.
Yeah, little punching ones. Yep.
And then you just connect. I can connect with bananas.
Yep.
But there's a bunch of different formats you can get those in. Just like smaller clips, but yeah, I think I got this whole little, I don't know, Velcro baggy thing, for what, $15 on Amazon. It has a lot of different clips, a lot of banana plugs, a lot of kind of mix and match. I think it came with the USB, which I always think is neat but dangerous. Be careful whenever you're mixing USB A connectors with power plugs. But yeah, I mean, for $15, it's nice, like silicone wires, so or spaghetti wires, pretty nice and thick enough where you're not too worried about melting things down. So, I've been playing with power, as you were talking about with some of the battery stuff. My wife rather found, this is an Anchor. And it's a little old school because it still has micro for charging, but it does the fast. Like I could dump quite a bit of power. And Anchor is for if you're doing like power stuff or powered hubs. Anchor makes good stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, but she found that like down on the side of the seat in her car, and I had to take my watch, my rings off, and everything. I got my hand way under there and was able to get it out, but. I think this is like a 20 is what it is, and that's not bad,
Yeah.
I want to build a pack with 18650s or something.
Do eventually. It, man. And if you look, that what is the I have a consumables list on Amazon that's open to the public. Anyone can add things to this consumables list. Basically, it's just stuff that I found myself ordering like time and time again. I'm like, I just need a list on this. And then other people asked me and started using it. And there's some heat shrink that's kind of large that I use for battery packs that works well, where I can, kind of put all of it around and then just, shrink that down. And it's pretty heavy duty stuff. But I make, for the most part, except for this one here, I make most of my battery packs over here. And so I also have a lot of the BMS boards that you can order off of Amazon. Depending upon if you're doing like a 3P type pack.
I just bought I had to re-up my shrinks, dude. It was like I had like the tiniest little ones left, and it was I was like, all right, time for a new box. So
I like doing the Anderson power poles. Those they have like the 35 amp, the 12 amp, the different ones, and then you can stick them all into one big bus, so you could plug like 5 or 6 of them in. So like if you have a 12-volt bus, then the batteries hook into the bus, and then everything else hooks in that you need to draw power off of. So yeah,
You just have to be careful when you're needing something that can simultaneously give power while it's charging. That's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
you have to be
yeah, you
cautious
gotta.
of.
Well, you know, you always usually put the fuse on the hot, but then if you have batteries in parallel like that, because of the other arc path that can happen, you should put a fuse also on your negative too.
There's on the low side,
On
yeah,
the plus and negative,
there's
because
a
if you're running
really
them
cool
in
project.
parallel, they could run short circuit that way, and the first current would be felt on the negative then instead of the positive that way. So yeah, it's just like an extra
Um,
level. I
I,
always thought it was kind of silly until someone's like, yeah, well, for batteries you kind of want to fuse in between each positive and negative line when they're in series, or in parallel, whichever.
did you see that project that it was on? Not the whole write up wasn't on Thingiverse. It was. I mean, I think you link. I don't know. It's up somewhere, but this guy made a modular power supply, so I can plug in AC on the. I mean, it's got a number of converters, charge cells, and then I have 18650 battery packs that are made kind of standard, and then they use those little plugs that the I don't know, the orange plugs with the triangle on one side that you use for like RC car. I don't know, a lot of RC
Hmm.
stuff, a lot of drone stuff. And so it just drops in, so I can throw a pack in, and it
Yeah.
it powers everything. It's a cool build that this guy does.
Huh.
I'll put a link on this video once I find it. I don't know, I don't have it offhand, but it's it's a pretty neat build. Um, Pretty well done.
There are a
But
lot of
when I watched the live
cool
video,
circuits.
and like he does a video, and it'll be in the links down there. But it makes me a little nervous, like some of his soldering. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, um, because a lot of power is going to be running through that, especially if I plug it in, like AC onto it. Like, oh, yeah, don't just wrap that. Just makes me nervous a little bit sometimes. But we were also talking about tack welders, and you can get them cheap now, but you can also
Hmm.
make them. If you want to make one, you could build one out of 18650s, and then kind of have it fix itself.
Right.
A magnetron from a microwave oven,
Oh,
the
be
magnet.
fucking
The
careful
core, take the
if you're
core.
messing with
Yeah,
microwaves. I mean,
yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
I know a guy I knew a guy. I guess that tells the whole story right there. Um, you could kill yourself by taking a microwave oven apart.
Yeah, yeah. You
There's
just take the core. You take the core and you rewrap it, so it's pretty much disabled to do this. But you got to disable it.
If you don't know what
So
you're doing, don't mess with it, please.
yeah,
But yeah, you can also use that to make. My wife got me this really cool like staff. She found it out at the river one time, like years back, and I mean, it's a nice like for real staff, right? Walking staff or sorcerer's staff, right? And what you can do, you can use parts of a microwave and do very high voltage and burn like lightning,
yeah,
into the
yep.
wood, and it
They
looks
soak the wood.
awesome,
They
man.
soak the wood in salt water usually ahead of time.
Yeah,
It's like salt water to actually make it go a little bit better. Like better
yeah,
lightning strikes. But yeah,
yeah,
then you could do it with a welder,
yeah.
or you could do it with yeah. I
I'll
don't know.
film it. I'll film it because I think at some point here, pretty soon, I'm going to be doing that on this staff. But
Yeah.
my wife's
Make a
really
nice coffee table, a beautiful coffee table. Look at this.
yeah. I saw this. There's a woodworking show on YouTube that I watch that I really do like. The guy's good, but he had this episode about like these hidden coffee tables that like hinge up and away from you.
Yeah, those are
And
kind of the
apparently they're really
convertible type.
popular. They're right
Yep.
now. And I was over at my wife's girlfriend's house, and she had one, and it was. I mean, it stays in the upright and kind of locked position. But this guy was basically saying, a lot of people make these so you can put your your rifles or your guns in this, and it looks hidden. I mean, it just looks like a a coffee table, right?
Coffee table, yeah.
But it was a pretty neat build. He also had a build where you had a full shelving unit that would rotate. It was balanced. It was counterbalanced, and I could rotate the whole. I could put like a drill press on it, and that has to go in the center, so it's not like wildly swinging it out. It's kind of centered with the your mass and your heavy stuff in the middle. But I could have crates on it that would kind of easily with one hand. I mean, he could swing and rotate the whole thing around. It was really really neat little shelving setup for limited space areas. I don't know offhand what that channel is, but let's just pretend I'll find it later and we'll link it to it somewhere down below.
It's the guns and coffee table channel.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Hell yeah, man.
Guns, coffee table, and woodworking. Hi, welcome to our channel.
Right?
I love the old woodwork where you have to like put like this like piece of wood. Yeah, have you seen them? They're like puzzles. They're like a desk, but to open the drawer, you have to like follow all these like crazy steps. Yeah, and like puzzle use boxes. Magnets.
I've got some nice puzzle boxes, man. I mean, I've got some like 30-something step puzzle boxes that are just insane.
Yeah, puzzle boxes are pretty cool.
Man. Yeah. And it's neat because you'll see some that like some that I have involve like magnets and balls that have to be rolled, and then you have a magnetic release on some latches.
Yeah.
So really intricate stuff. I like those a lot. I like those a whole lot.
You talked about the coffee table thing, and I was just like, oh man, yeah. I've always wanted like to have like you push a little thing, a magic wand pops out, and then like you touch the wand to the right spot, and like the magnet switch, and then like you get a ball bearing, and you roll it down the hole, and it like hits a pin and opens another drawer. And,
yeah. And look
inside the drawer. There's a drawer. Yeah.
There's some neat stuff on Thingiverse, and if you're ever in, they're still called head shops, right? Or that's what we always used to call them,
Yes, they still call them. Yeah.
I don't know if you call it a CBD or some type of I don't know what a head shop.
It's a dispo now, but it's still head shops.
You know what I'm talking about, though. A lot of those
like
places,
a bowl store, yeah.
Where you go to buy your mom's kids,
yeah.
The hacky sack, that's hilarious, dude.
It's just go to the dispensary.
Well, I found a lot of puzzle boxes in head shops in the past.
Yeah.
So
I frequent those stores, man. I like them.
Well,
I got a head shop T-shirt on right now. Oh, out of camera. Head shop. This is from a head shop.
There you go.
Nice.
Boba Fett.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Boba Fatty, not Boba Fett.
Boba Fatty.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things those stores are popping up everywhere. It seems. Like even in the neighborhood, there's like, oh, okay, well, we can.
Yeah, the CBD shops are kind of funny. I'm like, really, that's not okay. I guess if it works for you.
Most of the ones I've been to around here, though, they don't do like hydro stuff. It's not really for growing. It's more for kind of like prepackaged. We're gonna sell this fancy looking, and I don't know that. I'm assuming the law allows them to sell there, but no, not even kits, but just like the gummies and stuff, like in products. So,
so the hemp bill, it passed like 2020 or something like that, and basically what it says is you have to have under 0.3% of the net weight of the product. It has to be 0.3% THC. But if you take a heavy ass gummy bear, dude, and you make it 0.3 THC of the gummy bear's net weight, you're getting fucking wrecked, bro. Like, especially if you don't smoke weed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the dosing is not proportional. Yep. Yeah.
No, there's really loopholes. Tear a gummy bear in half, really. It's I don't know, and apparently I don't know if a lot of people know this, but in Texas, there is a medical exemption for THC. And
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't know that the extent that was really in place. But if you have some type of pre-existing condition or something, at least check into that if that's something that helps you with pain management. Um, I didn't realize that it was legal to the extent that it is in Texas.
Yeah, my first
Almost every state
medical
has
card
some
was
degree of
for chronic
medical
pain, dude.
going on now.
Yeah.
I know it helps a lot of people. I know a lot of folks, a lot of older folks, or older than I am, I guess, who never, they didn't grow up in a grass culture or anything really, who are now using it for to help deal with the pain for cancer treatment and other treatments.
That's
But
what I think's funny. You go to the dispensary and you see this 70-year-old couple there, like giggling in line. You know what I mean? Like, look at these two old. It just seems kind of
more power to them, straight up,
odd.
man.
There's people like that you would have never thought in the past would ever smoked. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I'm not like being age biased, but I would have never pegged those two for pot smokers.
I mean, in Texas at least. I've known people who have done a lot of time for
Yeah,
grass.
exactly.
And not being a dealer, just
My
by
buddy lost his
possession.
whole teaching
Yeah.
license. He lost just about everything because somebody was growing on his land and he had grown with them before. So, yeah.
I try not to get too political online on shows and stuff, but that's something I just feel is ridiculous, And now we see
Yeah, it is.
all these states are jumping to it now. You still can't get FDIC, coverage for a lot of operations, and so banking is still done largely in cash and crypto. Just saying. But still, I know a lot of people who got out of the military and now they're doing private security for grows because they're having to keep all this freaking cash on hand because the banks won't FDIC insure it.
Well, it's kind of like they lost a lot of moral ground, especially whenever they condone the whole Oxy pandemic.
Oh,
you
jeez.
know, and essentially the government said, "Yeah, here's this great pharmaceutical invention. Everybody should take it." And then all of a sudden, it goes away, and everybody needs to still get their fix. So then enter fentanyl, which is totally off the grid from any type of narcotic schedule whatsoever.
Well, but what's scary about
that's the real problem. That's the one that's the real problem. Yet they're focused on everything else.
It's being mixed into so many things that are coming across our borders to make drugs more addictive because certain we don't have to go into this, but certain drugs really aren't that physically addictive. They can be very psychologically addictive, but you cut it with fentanyl and it kind of changes the story. And it's sad, it's shameful. You see a lot of deaths that are piling up, and with the opiate crisis that we have, it's a lot of white women that are involved in it, and so the federal government isn't treating it like the crack epidemic.
It's just it's a bit different. You got these types of things that are non-invasive should barely be regulated, should be like coffee and cigarettes, less than cigarettes, whatever,
much less than alcohol,
much less than alcohol. And then you got these others that are like wrecking it and nobody's even looking at it.
We should have, in my opinion, we need to have free needle exchange programs. It doesn't matter what your stance on drugs is. That doesn't matter. It's not about the drugs. It's about people who have an issue, and they should be able to have a clean. They shouldn't have to deal with fucking junky needles.
Yeah, I see. I'm pretty much a libertarian, so I figure that herd within itself. So just let that happen.
Anyway, I got us way off topic here. It's just
sorry, but
I think a lot of it is really.
I
ridiculous.
love it. I'm over here like, whoa.
Well, but I do love.
It's all great.
I do love a lot of Republicans that I never thought would come over to being able to have personal grows, asking me, so how many plants can you grow personally? And I'm like, me
Exactly.
person or legally person.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's a weed.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes down to it, if you just want to Johnny Appleseed something, it will grow.
It's a weed. It's a weed that has apparently been cultivated by humans for at least 12 to 15,000 years, to the best of our knowledge. So it's a very special one that we carried along with us most of the way.
Dude, when you really look at weed, it really is like the fountain of youth. Dude, it could feed people. The amount of protein it has in its seeds is higher than like almost any other plant. It freaking takes and cleans soil. It cleans the atmosphere. It'll literally suck fucking heavy metals out of the fuck.
I'm talking with the company that is
soil.
building roads.
It'll suck bullshit out of the air.
They're literally paving roads.
Yeah,
with products made out of this. Yeah, it's
a hemp highway.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Hemp.
And okay, so question: is it hard to grow? Let's talk about this. Okay, why not? Is it hard to grow? And it's really not terribly hard. I mean, make
it's a tomato plant easy. It's a tomato plant from a seed easy. I'll say that much. It's about the same.
Check your local laws.
All
before
plants.
Everybody can grow weed.
You start 10 seeds. You're gonna get like 5 or 6 maybe good starts.
Well, but a lot of it is just the simple stuff that you learn growing beans in kindergarten. I mean, how to do sprouts, how to do to get things started, and then you want to separate, I guess, your males and your females. I mean, depending upon what you're doing here, but it's not rocket surgery. It's now, and even the lighting. And I'm sure you guys probably know a lot more about this than I do, but you used to use like halogen, like really high pressure, halogen lights?
High pressure sodium and
sodium,
metal
high
halide.
pressure sodiums, right?
Halide, yeah, the metal halide.
But they were expensive. I mean, those lights were hundreds of dollars.
The basketball stadium lighting.
But now a lot of this is going over to LEDs, right? I mean,
wavelength. It's more like wavelength.
LEDs are expensive too, though.
Okay.
The LEDs are cheap, cheap as far as power per price. LEDs are cheap, and then their heat they don't evolve as much heat as a metal halide. Metal halide's like tons of heat, and anything heat is just waste. That's lost current.
Well, and your power bill is going to reflect this, and that's
your power bill. Yeah, it's going to be higher, so it's pulling a lot of fucking current.
You've seen the picture of someone up in Canada, I think, and they got busted because there was snow on everyone's roofs, and just no snow on this roof, and they had a high power bill, and they're like, okay, yeah, so they're doing something fishy there. So, like I say, I'm not advocating doing anything outside of legalities in wherever the locale is that you live, but I don't know. I just think it's kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, for most, a standard light that's like maybe like 500 watts, 1,000 watts, is like big, for an area, of a space that you would need to grow, quite a few little vegetables, I guess. But yeah.
Well, question.
Yeah, if you can get 1 gram to 1.5 grams of weed per watt of light, you're doing pretty good.
Okay.
As like a measure of math. So if you do like
that's cool. I like that measure. And that's a cool measure.
If you do 1,000 watts, you should be able to get about 2.2 pounds. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't understand that still. Like why you talk grams and pounds.
1 gram a watt, and then if 1,000 watts is 2.2 pounds.
But rather than kilograms is what I mean.
Oh, that's just a freaking American shit, dude. I'd rather just go by metric. Yeah, do tons, do kilograms and grams.
Yeah.
But yeah, we gotta unfortunately do the whole pound thing
like
here
we
in
do
America.
with cocaine. I mean, come on,
right.
Get it together, America. But but if okay, let's say I wanted to grow peppers. Okay, what I grow and have grown, my wife and I for ages, peppers, tomatoes. That's what we grow big, I guess. If I want to mix those with some type of a marijuana cultivation, is there anything that I mean? Is that an environment, or is that a like a setup that I
It's
could do peppers and weed?
There's
Yeah.
timing if you're outside, depending on your climate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that
Okay.
goes with anywhere. Indoors, you're allowed to, you're able to control the environment and pretty much do that all year round. Outdoors is a little tricky. That's my only opinion right
But if
there.
I have a hydro
It's-
set
yeah.
up, am I talking kind of the same solution that I would use, for
Yeah.
a number
Yeah.
of things that I would
Well,
grow?
no.
Okay.
That's the thing. Is like, weed will anybody can grow weed and anybody can
Yeah.
grow weed and get weed. But when you want to get when you go to the dispensary and you see the weed you see there,
Yeah.
that's a little bit more difficult. So
Right.
like
Right.
when
Okay.
you want to get like a frosty looking bud, you need to get like a good LED, you need to have like a
Yeah.
good DLI. So a daylight integral, so like you want it really
Okay.
bright, you
Gotcha.
want like you know 2000 ppfd of light for marijuana because it's almost linear, like as
And
much light as
CO2
you can
levels
give
too,
it.
a little
You're
bit.
right. Well, that's the thing. The more
Yeah.
light you give weed, the more feed you have to give weed, the more CO2 you have
Okay.
to give weed, the more. It's the same thing with every plant, but
Photogen, you're accelerating it.
can-
Yeah. The process.
cannabis is just really good at it. Like it really is a weed. Like the more light, feed, all the good stuff you give it, the bigger, the better it'll get. And then there's ways to manipulate not just cannabis but other plants with wavelengths of light. So if
Okay. Yeah.
you look up like the Emerson effect, Emerson was a scientist and he discovered like way back that if you irradiate a plant with 700 plus nanometers, which is far red light, and then 600 and less nanometers, which is deep red, you got twice as much photosynthetic activity as either of those lights apart. So there's like this weird thing that like deep reds do to plants where you can like
Mhm.
control their uh like the way they look, their shape. You can draw them towards light sources by showing them light and them thinking they're
Gotcha.
shaded. So like the far red light makes them think they're in shade. So you can essentially make them stretch by giving them far red light. So there's all these
They're like
phenomena that you
reaching.
can create
They're reaching for the
inside.
light.
Right.
So you
Right.
would
Yeah.
think that
So far red
IoT
light.
would be coming into play here somewhere, right?
Oh,
I mean,
But not
yeah.
only that
Yeah.
too, but like they have genetics now where, this is was kind of amazing to me. I remember hearing about this like 20 years ago. It was just like starting, but they have genetics now that you don't have to adjust your lighting to make it flower. It
Oh
auto
yeah.
flowers.
Auto flowers.
So
Yeah.
it basically stays, you keep your lighting at 12 hours, like, basically the equator all the time. And then the thing just in its genetics know after week 6 or week 7, and it kicks into flowering stage.
Hmm.
So that was a little complication sometimes with people trying to figure out when or how to start the flower or when was when was when. But, it's a little bit easier.
With photo period though, you can backpedal. With auto flowers, like people always are like, "Oh, auto flowers are for noobs." Well, it's like, no, dude, because once an auto flower starts flowering, it doesn't stop. There's no backpedaling. There's no slowing
Yeah.
down to try and like
Yeah.
recover. It's like, dude, if you have anything go wrong with an auto flower, it's going to affect your fucking
It's
your
gonna keep.
harvest. Yeah.
It's like a steamroll or like a snowball just coming down.
Yeah, but they are great for outdoors in the summer because you can cut your season in half and get 2 harvests
gotcha.
because you
Yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
wait for the sun. Yeah. Yeah, there's been so much shit done with weed that like just because it's like still to this day not legal federally,
Even recently,
just
even very
never spilled
recently.
over. Yeah.
I mean, it seems the changes. I mean, I'm reading about something new that really can be carried over to, affect yield on other crops. I mean, a lot of the science that goes into because okay, straight up, there could be a lot of money in the cultivation of marijuana, right?
Yeah.
As far as a crop is concerned, but a lot of the science that's going in there can be applied to change your yield on I don't know, soybeans, on
Food
Anything.
sustenance.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Food sustenance. Yeah, really.
Even if not, like, dude, like, I would love to find a third world country that is struggling that maybe could convince them to use hemp to get out of it. Cause like you don't have to get high, but there's so much that
yeah.
cannabis can do. Like hemp seeds, I swear, like dude, you could feed a village off hemp seeds and then they can have clothes and shoes and like
And
you can make
roads.
rubber, your
Seriously, yeah,
roads. Yeah.
yeah.
Like everything. And it grows so fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
Grows like a weed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. And I love seeing more states, opening up. I have a feeling that it's not going to be too long before we see something.
Oh yeah, the latest with Delaware. Delaware has been dragging their feet with this and like saying we're not going to do that. The latest that I heard, and you'll kind of like this one. They wanted to make sure the banks had set up some sort of way for the business owners in the hemp industry in Delaware to contain their assets. So the legislature said it wasn't being passed and still until the Delaware, distributors actually had a bank that they could go to. So it's like,
It's actually super important, dude. It's so
they're
important.
requiring it in the
Yeah.
legislature. I thought you would think that was kind of cool, which is because a lot of people can't go to regular banks. Like that's
Right,
co-ops
right.
and stuff.
Well, and it's
So-
important because Delaware, because of that particular state and how a lot of corporations
Are started there.
Follow there, yeah. They get incorporated there. It's either us or Nevada. Yeah.
so,
That's where Gray Hat's here. So of course we
Yo,
would be.
Texas and New Hampshire are starting to get pretty popular too, dude.
yeah.
Yep.
I know.
There, we could
I
use
know.
some better small business laws, but our tax laws are gravy. I love that we don't have income tax. Holla at me. Great. What do you know about that? What do you know about that, dude? Me and Trav don't pay income tax.
I get out of
or at least
sales
I don't
tax.
think you do. Do you? You don't pay
State
income tax,
taxes.
do you?
State
No.
taxes.
Nope.
Sales tax. So.
Yeah.
We have no sales tax here. That's the only.
Yeah, I got no
benefit.
sales tax either, but my fucking property tax, dude, is
$10,000
a year. Yeah.
Well-
let's not get into that. That's
Pennsylvania,
that's a conversation we don't need in the show. Yeah.
We're the lowest in Pennsylvania. New Jersey is insane. It's like 4 times mine. Pennsylvania is like 3 times. Maryland's like 2 times. So Delaware is kind of nice that way with their property taxes.
And has it been skyrocketing? I mean, has it been significantly getting higher recently?
It might have gone up maybe 20% over the last 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not been much at all. But yeah.
Mine keep going up like crazy. My town keeps like busting the tax cap for the school board and everything, so it's been kind of wild.
Yeah. And with taxes, my wife and I were child free by choice, but I would still rather live in an area. What are you laughing at? I'd still rather live in an area where there are smart and educated kids than not, whether they're mine or not. I think that does lend a lot to safer places to live. Is if the kids are smarter, they're into white collar crime. Then they're not breaking into my house.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, I think I gotta head out. I have unexpected company. My doorbell just rang.
Oh, all right. Well, hey man,
alrighty.
always a pleasure seeing you, and catch you on the flip side, bud.
Yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow or later. I'll see you guys around.
Yep.
See you, man. Let me see if I can flip this around, and I'm gonna have to assign you over to. There we go. I watched this documentary series last night on O.J. Simpson. It was I didn't know it was going to be 6 hours long, and I believe this woman who did it. I think it was pretty well done.
Yeah.
Was interesting the way that I think it's split up maybe into 4 episodes. Each one are pretty long, but they start with the football career, and they talk about kind of his media stuff with Hertz, and
Samsonite commercials.
and yeah, it's I thought I used to, that's what I used to want to do when I grew up, right? I used to want to make documentaries. And I made one, way back in the day when I was little or something. But I still love watching documentaries, and I think it was pretty well done. I think it's on Netflix. If you're so interested in that whole thing, but it got I mean, because that was when I was in high school, I guess, was
Yeah.
when that was going on, and that was the first trial that was they let cameras in on, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that got
Yeah.
way out of control, man. And that was really following Operation Sun Devil, which was a big computer hacking crackdown in like Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, a number of states, multi-state crackdown, throwing effectively kids in jail for long
Yeah.
sentences.
Yeah. I remember
Uh,
that one. Yep.
they tied it in with, I guess, some carding or
Yeah.
credit card theft is where they tied a lot of that in. But yeah, I mean that was a huge crackdown in the early to mid '90s. That was '93, I think, and um, I was just watching this documentary. I was thinking how things really changed. I mean, just how media has so much of a bearing on these criminal cases. Um,
Well, you just look at that little social group right there, and you have Caitlyn Jenner was a neighbor. The Kardashians were the lawyers,
yeah,
and
um,
it's still like that little. There's like a dynasty almost that still kind of lives on about all of that. I know they're not all related, but um, yeah, it's still like the same thing that that whole legacy lives on.
and they were in Brentwood and out in California. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's but I don't know. I mean, my wife. I don't know how much you know about the Silk Road, but
Yeah.
that cat got life,
That's fucked up. Yeah.
life.
Yep.
He grew up out on Lake Travis, outside of Austin, right?
Yeah.
Smart kid, and he got fucking life. Be careful, kids. I mean, it's really not a joke. Um,
Yep.
I mean, I think it's important to educate yourself. I feel it's critical, to at least try to have the upper hand. Try to know, how systems work. How a lot of this, but just understand that uh, laws are there, and they can push these laws. And I know we were talking about marijuana. And marijuana is still not legal in a lot of jurisdictions, and so don't take any stupid stuff I say on this show for gospel. Make sure that you're educating yourself on anything. I'm just kind of shooting off some of my opinions. Um, but yeah, they'll you could get the book thrown at you for a lot of damn reasons, and that's not an environment you want to be a part of, you know, or at least I don't. Shit, you know. Yeah.
CO2. Yep.
And that's the yeah, I've got that broken out. I had to. This is Rack's case, their new solar enclosure. Now, one thing I did have to do on this, see that's hot glue. I
Yeah.
went through and it was just kind of sketchy on
They
some of the
always
soldering
do that.
joints. That
Yep.
is heat shrink that I did. I re soldered all of those pins there because they were,
Yeah.
but and then I find out, and wish I had done this earlier on the call when Zim was here, but apparently there's a conflict between the CO2 and
That
this other
board.
board. Yeah. However, if you recall, we talked about this quite some time back about these. This is Sensorion or Sensorion
Yeah.
CO2,
Yeah.
kind of a high-end sensor that they have,
Yep.
and this is just a standard one that they have put onto a WizBlock breakout module, an IO module. But I believe that there was a manufacturing issue initially where you had to go through and like cut some traces on the bottom of it. Otherwise, you would get what an I squared C conflict. Um, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know where that landed. Honestly, I don't know if that may be causing some of the problem
Yep.
that he was talking about between those. I just put this together. This is using the ESP32 as a core rather than the Nordics.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, these cases aren't bad. I mean, you have the little washers for weather seal on the back side of that, and then you have a washer on this side, and then you can see how that's locked in to the casing.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it doesn't turn when you're cranking it down on the other end. So you can tighten
Yeah.
it against those
Yep.
rubber washers and have the whole thing. You also have this lining
Yep.
that goes around, and the whole thing at that point is waterproof. And this is neat. What Byrne did over at Rack, he made these little templates that you can print out that just sit on the sides of these. And so if I want to drill like a gland in here, it shows me exactly my center point and where I want to drill. If I need to do
Okay.
like because this needs to breathe. Your CO2
Yep.
has to have some type of
Yeah.
glands.
Otherwise, nothing's coming through. Yeah.
Like Gore-Tex, for example,
Yeah. Yeah.
some type of mechanism to pull what it's testing into the enclosure, and
Yeah.
and you may want to have something that allows flow to be encouraged in one side out the other. So you may want to have
Yeah.
like
You got to have
two,
a cross flow. Yep.
yeah. So kind of putting this together. Excited about this because when I say I'm talking One Planet Education Network is using these enclosures for some of the, sensors that we have courses
Yeah.
on that people, and we were talking about, other countries where, agricultural stuff, that's kind of what Open is doing. And this is one of the enclosures that they're going to be building out on. So
Is the mini baseboard, is that compatible with the sensor, or is it just that particular baseboard?
Okay, well, this is the double IO baseboard here where you have,
Yeah.
two here, the duals, but this is called a Unify enclosure that Rack does. And so if I look at all of
Okay.
these little things, all of
Yep.
these are made so I can cut these standoffs out with
Yeah.
side cutters.
Yeah.
And so if I want to, and it's actually designed, you can't really see it, but it's got sections there where I just trim
Yeah.
these little, connectors. And this is also sized so I can have a single baseboard or I can have one of the, really small baseboards.
Okay.
They kind of have the same modular type
Yeah.
pin
Yeah.
out for them as far as the standoffs are concerned. So,
Yeah.
but
That's
I mean,
I
one
just
thing
if that
I will
if that
say, that's our USB-C port, right?
yeah.
And there's not really, I mean, if I program it, I kind of have it open. I don't believe, there's this port here. So I've got 5 pins that I can break out, but there's not really an easy way to directly go from, to have a USB breakout on that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so if I just take the top off, I could use like a little connector like this for programming.
Yeah. Do this side angle one. Yep.
Yeah. Little 90 degree. Yeah. But yeah, this one was recently released over at Rack, and we're about to put it into the trenches, see how it fares. So
Yeah. It looks like a nice little enclosure.
it is, and what I was showing on the bottom, it has those little the brass, I guess, I don't know, female holes, and then I put these feet on it. I'm kind of in love
Yeah.
with those feet because they fit just perfectly in there. And this thing, it won't slide off your dashboard. I love
Yeah.
those feet. Just, I don't know, cheapo Amazon ones, but they work really well. But yeah, I'm rambling. I don't know too much new, man. I've just been playing a little bit. I do want to. I have one job that kind of wrapped up recently, so I'm looking for something to occupy time, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some of these guys finished up. These little macro pads,
Oh yeah.
um,
Yep.
getting the firmware done on them, where you can, kind of assign a particular button. I want to say, okay, well, I want it to do this in Premiere Pro, for example.
Yeah.
And so trying to customize the firmware there a little bit, and then I'm trying to do LEDs like they're all fancy. I'm not that fancy, I don't think. I'm like, um, I don't know if I want it to light up when I push the button, because usually, I've got this is more light than I usually have on when I'm working, in here. I've got blackout curtains throughout the house, and usually it's pretty dark, and I like it that way. I don't want something real flashy. My
Mhm.
my keyboard's murdered out. I mean, there's is as black as you get there, and I
Yeah.
don't I don't want something flashing because it messes with your eyes. Um, so I don't know. I've never had a keyboard with lights on it before. I mean,
Yeah.
except your caps lock. Your well, no, yeah.
I like it. I like it when it's like not when it's dark. You know, because I could just glance down and I know exactly where the home is. Or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I say murdered out, I mean this is my keyboard, and there's
Yep.
nothing. It's a DOS keyboard. I love this thing. It's got the clickety clack keys,
Yeah.
but there's nothing written on it, and you just have the little bumps where these fingers go, in the middle,
Yeah.
and but I do have these keys, and these are kind of cool because they have a cap on top of a cap, and so I can put like a little piece of paper or printed on
Something
plastic,
in there. Yep.
yeah, that goes between the key and this over thing. But you don't want that lit up all the time. I don't know. That's what I know. It's horrible because the firmware is pretty much written. I just don't know. And I've got the firmware where the faster you spin this in Premiere Pro, it'll change it because I have to go from hitting the L key, or you hit this key 1, 2, or 3 times, and that determines how
Yeah.
fast you're doing your scrubbing. And so, depending upon your acceleration of this, it changes how many times you hit that. It's not like
Yeah.
it's a different key or anything. But
Yeah.
and this is a shuffleboard puck. I know I've talked about it before, but it feels so good. I mean, just just the heft of it. When I'm
Got
when
some
I'm
good weight. Yeah. Good
oh
weight
yeah,
to it.
you've got that. What is it? The circular or the angular? The angular is it momentum? I guess. I mean, you give it a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
and it'll just
Yeah. It's
go.
the
It'll
angular
go.
momentum. Yep.
I like that, man. I like that. But I've this is the design from that guy. I don't know. I'm a big fan of his channel. He does Void Star Labs on YouTube,
All right.
and this is called the Big Ass Wheel. I think this is a design that he did, and you have these rotary encoders, and knobby knobs that are clickable,
Yeah.
and then you've got the big one in the middle, and then just your keys. But yeah, if you don't know about Void Star Labs, check out his channel. He's
Huh.
awesome. He's fun. He's funny as hell. He does. He and his
Yeah.
wife put a whole lot of work into his show, and I invited him onto this old show that I used to do a few years ago, and I mean he's got like probably more than, I don't know, this many people watching his show.
Yeah.
Like times hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's huge over there. So I don't. He was never. We were
Yeah.
never able to get him on, but it's definitely worth your time to check out.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this week, though, Jason, I wanted to ask you. You ordered another Indicator Pro, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of these things.
Yep. Yep. It's coming like here probably. It's probably about 4 or 5 days away. Yeah.
I'm really excited about working with you on some of that because I'm.
Yeah. 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 I just
Uh,
was like tired of it, and I kept fucking with it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking with something that I shouldn't have to be fucking with right now, and I don't want to fuck with it. I want to look at it later.
yeah.
And so I just like, I'm just gonna order a new one. Yeah.
And they're kind of ridiculously cheap for what you get.
Yeah, I that's the way I look at it. I'm gonna find out how to flash this one for whatever weird things going on with it after I, work on this guy and dev for a little bit, and then get him running. Then yeah. So
Nice. And I
I'll
showed
make
you that.
I'll make use of them for
Oh
something.
yeah, man. And I mean, I'm running some of these without the screens. I'm running these, just sans screen. Oh, and the screen, you're still gonna get reporting on it. It still thinks. So you've got to like, write some things in saying, okay, if you're getting this come through, that means either your monkey hands like crush the screen or it's missing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Showing you the feedback serial. Yeah.
but the I guess one of the main cats over at Seed, I was talking with him about one of my repos, and he's heavily involved in the I don't know, the development of those indicators, and so we've been chatting a little bit, and
Yeah.
I think it's one of the neater devices that's out on the market right now. But they openly say, "Hey, this is made for developers. This isn't really a consumer product. This is kind of made
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people to build consumer products using, this as kind of a launch pad, and then their fusion services that allows you to say, okay, well, this is the enclosure I want to build this product into. These are
And
the
make it
different.
this
This is what I
smaller
want to do.
LCD, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So really excited. And if anyone else wants to, jump in on, I'm talking like other people are here, Jason. It's just
Yeah. Well, I was talking.
kind of ingrained a little bit.
I mentioned it to Gristle King.
Cool.
I mean, he seems to buy this stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if he picks one up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And he ordered one of these bus pirates as well. Which
Yeah,
is
that's
cool.
coming in too.
And we still have these things that we've been,
Yeah.
talking about that I'd love to.
I got no case going on mine right now, but yeah, I can't remember the last software I put on there. I think
I've got
it
a
was
couple cases printed for
most
you,
recent.
literally in a box with your name on
Yeah.
them. But my trackpad's still screwed, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't work well at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have to kind of jack mine to get it to kind of work. It's always like pushing it to one side or something, and then the roller doesn't roll all that well.
Are you running Meshtastic right now?
I have Meshtastic on it right now.
That's what I do as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so convenient. Like, if I'm going to keep Meshtastic on one thing, and then I have a Helltech that I use as a relay that I
Okay.
could hook up to. I hook up to my main helium hotspot antenna here on the house,
Okay.
and I could hear people all over the county.
Well, okay. Question then. How do I make a group and speak with you over Meshtastic? Because
There's a
we're
lot
far
of
enough
a couple
apart
different,
that
yeah. There's a couple different ways. You can make a channel, and you can actually choose your own modulations and choose your own encryptions and choose. It's pretty complex, like the different ways to make a group. But bottom line, you're making a group, and then you're almost. I'm not going to say you're encrypted, but you pretty much have to know that channel. It's like a private channel almost.
Yeah. And so if
to
you're doing
join.
something that's topic based, like MQTT, you have to know topic structure in order,
Yeah.
to. And
Now
so
that's the other way with the MQTT. All you have to do is really for that whole topic, whether it's that, I think it only does it by channel, so it breaks it down by channel on the MQTT, and then that's what it has all the different sub levels from all the
But you
conversations.
can run TLS. It supports TLS encryption, and so I can have encrypted on top of those topic structures. And so I do have real encryption happening there, whether they're discoverable through a broker or not. But I'd like to be able to pick one of these up, and for Nick to pick one up, and you to pick one of these up, and be able to jump into the the Apple or a channel, and be able to have a group, kind of off the grid as much as we can.
And that was the last time I looked at this, was like setting up an MQTT channel. and then once we did that, then it would all be whatever private channel we chose, and then we just piped it to MQTT.
Yep.
But that server died on me. I didn't keep it going.
We should pick that back up and at least sniff around a little and see what happens there, man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that one, he died about 2 months ago. I was like, I'm not gonna renew this.
I got you. Because I know you need more projects. Like we need more holes in the head, So
Yeah. Yep. No, that's not too rough. The MQTT, I had
it's
that working
applicable
before.
everywhere with
Yeah.
IoT. You can use it everywhere.
And I'm gonna need to set it up with a few different things, and I need to set it up with, what was it? Just the other day. Yeah, for me to set up the multimedia gateway, I need to set up an MQTT server somewhere in the house to have it point to. So I got to just do that all locally, set it up at first that way.
Is that running through HA as well?
No, I don't have. Well, I have HA running, but I have to see where it's at, whether it needs updates.
Okay.
I had an external MQTT for HA, but I took that one down. That server's down. So now I need to build either another. I probably have to build another one for HA and tie the new one into HA, and then tie it also into this new multimedia.
I mean, you could use their little package manager in HA just to
yeah.
And it's
I've
Mosquito is what they use.
Yeah, I've done that.
There you go, Leo. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's just because I use it a lot for other things. I usually end up setting up like an RPi with an MQTT server on it, and then I'll have HA hit that sideways. If HA manages it, I ran into troubles when it was managing it, like using it with other things. So yeah, I like to have it separated. Yeah,
I get that, and I kind of like using the distributed MQTT broker.
Yeah,
even though Mosquito, it's badass. I mean, it's it is a pretty darn solid broker that you can run easily on Pis or on. I mean, a Pi Zero. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to run that Mosquito.
Yeah, I use the Mosquito. Yeah, it's just whatever it is, apt-get.
And you've got a CLI to publish and subscribe.
Yeah,
I
set up everything. Yep, it's all apt-get, and then I go from there and do the README.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of those things I always have to look and say, what order does
I got to the point where I don't try to memorize anything. I just figure as long as I can recreate it again, that's all I care about.
Well, I think that's one of the most important talents that you can have nowadays is the ability to learn, the ability to teach yourself, and
screw this. I don't need to memorize that. There's a README for this. I know where to find it.
I saw something the other day that was, and I don't know who to, say made this quote, but basically they're like, my job will not be taken by an AI. It will be taken by someone who knows how to use AI. And I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
That's what's up, man. That's that's the truth. That video I made a while back about just using, and it was real simple. I put the text of all the prompts on the screen. It was using ChatGPT-4 to write firmware for an ESP.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And I mean, it got me, I'd say 90 plus % of the way. And it took me about a day afterwards to really kind of bang through it and, clean it up. But that's pretty damn impressive. I thought. I mean, it's just if you're not using, and I'd love to hear what everyone is using for IDE plugins. If you are using some type of AI integration directly within your IDE, I use VS Code. I'd say now most of the time, honestly, or just just a command line editor, you know. But for like a full IDE, I use VS Code. I blow out all the extensions routinely, you know, just to clean everything up, and especially messing with I don't know, some of the design or some of the visual stuff, and some of the I don't know, where things have to be revision locked, and I get a little cranky. I'd also like to hear about anyone who's using or spinning up like on demand IDE, like graphical IDEs that are containerized. I want to know what people are using there, because I've been working on something that I like, and I can be kind of picky. So yeah, I don't think I'm quite where I want to be on that yet.
Yeah, I think you have to do your DIY on that, kind of customize it a little bit, you know, because there's a lot of different things. Yeah.
I mean, I want GitHub direct integration as much as possible. You know, I'd like to go to a repo, hit this button, and then have exactly this revision of, you know, LVGL, you know, and ESP, you know, Espressif, like all my tool chains set up specifically for what I want to do there, and not have to flash a whole, you know, stack, you know, on my machine, my main dev machine to do it. So I'd love to hear what everyone's doing there, but
yeah, and then end up having to nuke your dev machine anyways.
Again, yeah. And I do want to just give a quick shout about if you happen to be in the U.S., if for any reason you're watching this, Leo, I know you're not, but tomorrow's tax day, which applies to, I'm sure, some of you. Just know that, you know, happy April 15th to everyone who's made it this far, and wanted to throw that out and give a special thank you to all the accountants and CPAs out there. You know, I know it's a very busy time of year for you, but understand that we appreciate you. So thank you for what you do. And shoot, Jason, I guess with that, we can call it a week, man. It's always great chatting with you. I'll see you online here in a bit. But you know, if anyone or you know has an idea for something to talk about, or they want to come on, you know, holler at Jason, holler at me, holler, you know, just holler at anyone you've seen on this show, and you know, let's hack the hacks. You know, sounds good, bud.
Alrighty.
See you, man. Have a good one, folks.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Packets on packets on packets on packets on packets. Got packets on 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 packets. Got packets on 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 packets. Got packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on packets on.
Put in the F around and you find out.